Everybody, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Josh with PDQ.com.
We're talking package templates.
We are talking package templates today. We dropped a teaser for them a few weeks ago. But today we're going to go over an entire package template or two and kind of show you what we're thinking, how we're doing them. And then at the very end, we're going to request some feedback. And we want to build out this package template library, kind of the same extent we've got the current ready-to-go library.
It's something, the more community involvement, the better this could be for everyone.
Sure. Yeah, like we can pick random, software off the, what we think, but we honestly just want to serve the community. That's the whole idea behind this is, get packages ready to go for people, make everybody's life just a little bit easier is kind of what we're shooting for.
All right, let's dive in and take a look at the first one.
Yeah, let's look at the first one. Kind of want to just start off by showing everybody where you can find these guys. They're in the package library. I just did a search for template, right? So we're a little sparse right now. And I want to call out, there's a couple different types of templates and the reason why we're doing this. In many cases, there's software that we just can't put in the library with the actual installer. We're blocked by the EULA. Yeah. Most Microsoft products just say very clearly, you may not redistribute this.
Yeah, so we can build out the framework and then we can't provide the actual... We
just can't give you the file. So, in the past, we've kind of gone around it by, shooting webcasts or videos on this is how to do it. Let me show you how to build this package. But we're going to take it just one step further, and we'll give you all the stuff. You just may have to go out there, make a few decisions, and replace some files.
Yeah. And the other one is if we can't... It's not just the installer, but if it requires a lot of customization for your environment.
Yeah. That's the other reason here is there's just some software that requires, it's going to be different use cases. And in many cases in the library, we take, what we would want to do for most sysadmins, right? We disable auto updates, we install silently, but some software just requires that little bit of personalization more so than we can get in the library or we feel comfortable putting it there. So those are the kind of the reasonings behind why we're trying to do this. And we think that we're onto something here. Yeah.
So I know we've talked about it internally a long time. Everyone agrees that they thought it would be incredibly useful, and we just never pulled the trigger.
We didn't.
Until here it is. I'm excited. When you told me about it, I thought you were messing with me.
I wasn't. It was actually a discussion that we had, and it came up yet again, and finally was like, you know what, let's just do this. Yeah.
I brought up enough, actually, after you reached out to me, 2 or 3 other people on your team also reached out, hey, did you see we did it?
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
A couple things to call out here. So they function a little bit differently than normal packages in the library. I've downloaded a few here, and you'll notice when you download them, they come down as a standard package. They come down as a standard package because if we made them auto update, what would happen is the next time that we put out a version release for these, we'd nuke any customizations you'd already made, and you'd have to go back in and do it again. So pay attention when we're in the library. You'll see the version name on these packages is actually the date they're published. So it's not necessarily tied to a specific version of the software, but the date that we put it out, and it was the version at that time, and we'll try and keep things up to date with versions they apply to in either the name, and then when we notice that something breaks, like WebEx, an example.
So it's like if we had a Autodesk, which did change the way their installer worked. If you were going for an older, newer version, you'd want to check at the publish date to make sure you're getting whichever one works for the version you have.
Yeah. So there's a little bit more thinking involved here, but we're hoping the overall goal is to make it easier. Okay. So pop and open one of these templates. We'll start off with Office 365. Okay. You'll want to read the properties of each of these templates because it's going to describe how this particular template is used.
And this is important where customer feedback comes in. Like if you are using the Office 365 and we're missing something, or if we have something incorrect, we have a place where to go. We need to know that so we can make sure we get everything up to date for everyone.
Exactly. Else. Yeah, we're going to try and do the best for everybody. And again, it's why it's a template. Pop in pop into your own steps, add other things, put it into a nested package. We're hoping just to make things easier in general. For these packages that require a little bit more thought, like this Office one, requires you to go out and get some files, we're putting instructions as a knowledge base article link. Just because bouncing back and forth from this window can be a bit tedious. So I've already gone ahead and pre-opened this one's instructions here, right? And it starts with a copy of what's in there, and it sets it up by saying, these are the conditions that we're setting, right here, that exist in that package. We've preset conditions, so you can go in and change them. And then it gives you like this step-by-step playbook on how to go populate the files and make it just run, right?
Okay. All right, so we're just going to build this one live and
yeah, let's just build this one live.
All right.
Right. So the first one, it tells us to to go grab the Office deployment tool. It's here. So we'll download the tool and we'll run it. Okay. I'm going to quickly accept the EULA, and then it's going to ask, where do you want to extract these files? The thing to call out here is these are the files that we're going to replace in the repository. Because in the package templates, they're just calling out like placeholder files, so we need to go put them there. So I'm just going to put it in the folder on the desktop for now, just called, M365. We'll dump out our files. So we've got it, we've extracted, and now it says, go ahead and go overwrite your files that's in the repository already, right? So here's our extracted files on the desktop. Here's our repository. We'll navigate to our templates. Office 365, and you'll notice that the setup.exe that's here it's a placeholder. It's a 1 kilobyte file, and it's not going to be, it's not going to actually work. So we're going to replace it right now, right? Pop these in here. We'll replace them in the destination. All right.
So I noticed our configuration is just configuration XML, but there's a whole bunch of different names. So if we are calling that XML, do we need to change the template anyway for this to work?
So we put a configuration XML in there that will work, but it's very, very bare bones. And you'll notice that we're calling that configuration XML in an additional file here.
So if you want to use one of the enhanced one or you modify it, you'd want to add that to the additional files.
You want to add it there. And that's what this next step is here, step 3. So this is where we're going to launch into the Office customization tool. Here's like any other Office install. You're going to pick out the things that you want, but there's a few things that we want to call out kind of along the way. For demonstration purposes, we're going to call out that we're just going to grab the 64-bit. Maybe let's grab Microsoft 360 apps for business. Do we want Visio? Nah. Don't want project or any of that. The next one to call is the update channel. This is one that everyone should probably pay attention to. There's so many different choices here, and it depends on where you're going to deploy this Office suite and your particular requirements.
All right. So I guess the current channel means every time there's a new official build, it's going to automatically update.
You're going to catch it, and those machines are already going to be there, and then you can pick the version that you want to run from at the very beginning.
Okay. Well, I've noticed even with this, there's not one to say don't auto-update this where you have control over that. That's,
the stuff you can do here is you could probably dump down to like the semi-annual channel, because that'll keep you there for 6-ish months, depending on where you're at and you're in that release cycle.
They almost give us control of what we want.
Almost, right? The next thing is picking the apps, and something I want to call out people that have seen this a lot of times, deployed apps a lot of times, this configuration tool is just continually getting better, and it's so much easier to use. Right, they're toggle switches. I may or may not want PowerPoint, Teams, this, that, or the other. Okay, and you'll notice over here on the right side that we're getting a summary, and there's a couple things that we need to still call out to make sure that this runs well and deploy. We've got to pick a language, right? Well, not the UK. Close. So we'll pick English as our language, right? And the next steps that we've got to hit here for PDQ is the show installation to user. We want that off.
It's basically the silent parameter.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's building that into the customization tool. Something to call here that's also called out in the knowledge base article is where do we want to deploy Office from? So this comes down to your deployment strategy overall. Do you want each of your machines to reach out to the internet, pull down if every individual file? Or do you have a local path that you want to have keep all of that web traffic internal? For us, we'll just stick with the content delivery network, right?
So looking at that, this is why we can't really do an all-encompassing on this one. There's just a lot.
Exactly. There's so many requirements. There's so many. I mean, we can bounce down here into like uninstalling specific versions of Office. If they're the MSI version of Project or Visio, we can build that in and have that as well. And then there's this entire licensing section, right? Like I want to automatically accept the EULA. But then I have to make a decision for my organization. Is this a user-based license? Is it a shared computer? Is it device-based? Do I have tokens? Do I have KMS servers? Because this also works for Office 2019.
So using the wrong one here, you could really mess up your billing.
Yeah, you could do that here. But the good thing is there's an uninstall Office in the library. So you mess this one up, you do something wrong, come back, do it again.
There you go. We'll wipe the slate clean.
Yep. Anyways, we're done for at this point. Like this will work for us. We're going to export this guy, right? And it's going to give you kind of some warnings here, right? We didn't talk about default file formats. We didn't say any open Office. So we're just going to run. You're going to want to pick the things that make the most sense to you, right? We'll accept the EULA, and this is the file name that's already in the package.
Yep.
Before it was called configuration.xml, so I'm not going to change this. I'm just going to export it. Okay.
So if you change this and it goes in there, you're going to have to go modify the package to get the new name.
Exactly. So here's our configuration.xml. Copy that guy. Put him back in here, replacing him in our repository. There we go. So now we've replaced our setup.exe with an actual setup.exe, and we've built our configuration file.
So I guess you said it works out of the box with the configuration, but it's very bare bones. There's no customization. So if you're fine with just whatever we have decided,
Yep.
I wouldn't recommend it with this one.
I wouldn't either. I mean, you may get Office there, but it's probably not going to be exactly what you want for your org. So now you'll notice that we're actually, PDQ deploy is going to call out, hey, this is actually the setup.exe that you're looking for. And here's our configuration.xml, which is the parameters and the additional file. Right. So now let's see if we did this right, and let's deploy this.
All right. I guess while we're deploying this to other machines, do you have any questions we can take?
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
We do indeed.
All right. Gentlemen, my current 365 deploy package also contains multiple steps for ripping Office off a machine before installing Office 365. Would you recommend this, or has the install been updated to do this? Sincerely, Moy Dog.
So I believe I remember in the customization, you can set the settings to uninstall the MSI versions by default with the configuration.
You can.
So you can do it with your custom configuration. Otherwise, you could just download the uninstall Office and make it as a...
Actually, we can show that if you want.
Nested package, basically.
Yeah. So if we bounce back to the package library, right?
As far as would we recommend it, I would say yes. Almost always, if you're in any sort of problems, removing the old version before installing a new one is almost always useful.
Yeah. So here's a package here. This is the PDQ install that we wrote. It's a PowerShell script that will go and catch any and all versions of Office. The only call here is it requires machines that have PowerShell v3 or higher, which anymore it's hard to find a machine that doesn't.
I think if you have a machine that doesn't have version 3 of PowerShell, then the machine's not actually supported by us deploying anymore at that point.
Yeah. So just as the call out there, that is the one specific that's unique to this package. So you could download this package, right? And then create a new nested package. And step one of your nested package would be this uninstall Microsoft Office package. And the second step would be our template here.
All right. Do we have other questions?
Absolutely we do. Hey, gentlemen, is there a smooth way to install Outlook plugins? It just keeps failing. Does the user need to be logged off before it will successfully install? Sincerely, Dee.
So Outlook is a per user install. Yeah. When I did Exchange, every time there's the emails down, they weren't using the Outlook web access or that version, and they basically downloaded everything to the machine, and it causes problems. So if they're not on like any sort of OWA, it means it's on user base. So to get it to work, I suspect you're going to have to, in your package, change it to run as logged on user. So that it's going to look into their profile when it goes to do that. And that might work, but I haven't experimented with our product and those plugins to give a specific... my assumption is try it as logged on user with them logged in and see if that gets better results.
Yeah, that's really the only thing I can think of as well. That when you're in that user land, it gets tricky.
Bit more difficult. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Looks like we're still installing. Let's take another question.
Okay. Hey, Josh and Jordan, what about making the package a PowerShell install that does an IWR to grab the file from the manufacturer's website? Would that pass the EULA check since the file isn't being redistributed? Could possibly allow the package to be auto-downloaded enabled. Thanks, Tim M.
So in that case, you could automate downloading the install media, but the package still could not be auto-download because it would still overwrite. Especially like in this one, if you had your configuration XML you custom built, that would still get overwritten if we did that one. You could absolutely have PowerShell go out and scan. We did a webcast, I want to say a year ago, where we gave 3 or 4 examples where PowerShell would go out and download the media, and it would. We basically custom built the auto update packages that way.
Yep.
You could technically do that, and then just that file itself will update as you go, and that would work. But the package itself, the template still needs to be as a single download or not.
Yeah. That was actually part of, as we were going through this, that was the first idea of why don't we just invoke web request, have the machine reach out. And the thing that we ran into is a couple different, like you're talking about, like the auto download makes it a little tricky. And also just any type of air gap network or anywhere that you want to control, like any limited bandwidth scenarios, that gets dicey at best.
Yeah. So I think you could combine your template with a PowerShell script that goes out and pulls that and update. And in that webcast, I don't know if we have a link for that one. It downloaded the new version, and then it would update the variables with the latest version. So and then it would empty out the schedule for the if successful, don't scan again, and then kick off the automatic one. So you could build this in to run automatically, but the part of downloading the media is going to be done on your side for that one.
Exactly. Yeah. We're still running. Do we have more questions, Kelly?
Yeah, we have a couple we could throw in there. Dear Josh and Jordan, what is your philosophy for disabling auto updates? We usually put in a post step in auto download packages to turn them back on when possible, as we would rather have updates applied than not. Sincerely, Elmo F.
So by default, if we can, we do turn it off, and that's because for those users that want to be able to completely test in a lab before they update, we don't want to take that ability away. Yep. So that's why by default we turn off auto updates if we can, but we're not opposed to other people turning them on if they want them.
Yeah. There's other situations as well where auto updates can be troublesome. So if I think Chrome comes to mind as one of them. If I install the per machine version of Chrome via deploy and I leave auto updates on, and the machine leaves the network for an extended period of time, it still has internet access. And the user on that machine is not a local administrator, and they're presented to update. What's going to happen is you're going to end up with 2 versions of Chrome on the same machine. You're going to end up with a version of Chrome that is the per machine version at X and a user level version that is Y, because the user does not have access to make machine-wide changes, but they can install that app data.
You see that with Firefox a lot.
Yeah.
I've noticed you'll get the user-based one.
Yeah.
Hey, it looks like that was good timing.
Ooh, that was
completed.
Good. Hey, and I'm actually surprised that it worked.
No, we had full confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we want to log into Bugs Bunny and see if it's there?
Yeah, let's fire up inventory here. We'll look at Bugs Bunny and we'll fire off a scan and open it up. Let's see. Oh, there it is. We didn't even need a scan. So, and here's the date time to prove that there's no TV magic going on here. So we do have Microsoft Office Apps for Business installed at 1017.
Right. And in this case, I mean, we see it has some apps installed. If you have a lot of customization in there, you're going to want to run this against your lab and then log in and make sure all the settings are exactly what you want.
Exactly.
I mean, it did install, but make sure your customization specifically has worked out for you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the first flavor of template we have here. The second one is WebEx, right? And there are times that we have agreements with software distributors that we can redistribute their software, even sometimes that the EULA says no. WebEx is one of these where the only way that you can redistribute their software is via if you're having a meeting with the other person,
Okay.
if that makes sense. PDQ doesn't fall into that. So here's a template that allows us to get out WebEx, but this one's actually really, really easy. This one, because it's just a download and replace, we don't have a KB for it because it's just, hey, go to these following sites. We even give the actual download URL and say download, this actual file. And just to kind of show you how quick it is, we're going to grab them and download them live. So here's the 64-bit and the 32-bit if you want both.
So this one's not so much about configuration. This one is just WebEx said no
Yep.
on supplying the media.
Yeah. Here we're gonna sidestep the EULA, still try and make everybody's life as easy as possible.
I like how Brazen's like, yeah, we just went around it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. There's nothing more to say to that, right? Let's see. Still have an unconfirmed download. So here's our WebEx MSI and WebEx x86 MSI. Grab both of these guys here. Move over to our repository, up a level. Here's WebEx, the 2 files. Notice again, they're only 1 kilobyte in size. They're obviously not the right ones. And if you look at these files, Deploy has no idea what they are. Right? So we paste them in here, we'll replace them. Now when we come in here, we're going to see that the file size is 263 or 262 megabytes. And just like that previous question where we're talking about uninstalling first, we actually noticed with WebEx that a clean install works best. So we do a uninstall and then a clean install.
And this is the case where we gave the direct link on here's where you can get the file.
Yeah.
If it is when you're building your own, you want to make sure you're getting the offline installer when you're doing deployment. Otherwise, like everything we're going to build is going to be based around using the offline installer.
Yeah, it will be. But yeah, you could just do an invoke web request if you were feeling kind of sneaky there.
Absolutely.
So we can deploy this one again to Bugs Bunny. Just kind of feel like picking on him today. And I guess while we're doing that, if we have some questions.
Sure, we can throw one out there. Hey guys, I'm wondering if there are any package templates planned for the future. Sincerely, Lear IT.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I believe we have a form. We're going to show that at the end of it, where if you have an idea for one you're looking for, or if you have built one that you think would work, just go to that form. If it's one you've built, just include the XML for us, and we'll build it off of that. And we're taking requests. We want to build this out as much as we can. What we have out there is kind of the test case of the ones we kind of had the most need for.
Yep.
But we want to build this out for everything that we can think of if the users need it.
I'll go ahead and put that link in the chat. So there you go.
Yeah, these are just let's dip our toes in the water. Let's see if these are successful before we go out and put a ton of effort into it. And again, we want these to be community driven because we want to help everyone else. We want to make everyone's life a little bit easier. There's one piece of software that I have in the back of my mind that's been a pain for me to install all of the time, and it's the Autodesk products.
Yeah, Autodesk.
So that's on my short list that we should probably get out in the library, but I don't want internal opinions to go over what was actually needed.
Works for me. Right.
Yeah.
Other questions, or did that already finish?
I think that already finished, but I'm going to kick off just another quick application scan to make sure that inventory picked it up.
Would you like another question while we wait?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go for it. Hey guys, is there any way to pause dynamic collection updates? Would love to be able to toggle this on whole folders versus deleting them outright to reduce processing load. Thanks, David R.
I can't think of anything for whole level. I mean, you can set machines. That just turns off scanning, though. That'll stop it for updating, but it's not going to.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to do that. Those just happen. There's a way to prioritize which collections are evaluated, and that's by making them the active window. Then the updates for that particular collection are prioritized. But as far as turning them off as a whole, that's not possible
I don't know
there.
a way to do that.
Yeah. It looks like it scans down on Bugs Bunny. So here we do have WebEx, and we've got our install date time. No magic here. So there's our WebEx install. And any time that there's a WebEx update, you just replace the install files, which we would do in the package library, but we can't because it's not an auto download package.
Is it in our case where our links are, is the WebEx specifically for this version of the install, or is it just here's the latest and it's the same link? Because if not, will we need to update the template with the new install files? Or?
So kind of some behind the scenes, at PDQ, how we curate the library. We've noticed in years of testing that many times the parameters for these don't change at all. Like the version changes, so what we're doing behind the scenes is actually just doing what's in these templates of just replacing installer files and testing, and we do the testing before it hits the library, so by the time it hits there, we know what's going to work. So most of the time, you can just drop in and replace the installer files with the different versions and not have to do anything else.
Absolutely. But I was more talking about in the description, so if you open up the package, because we had the link to the download. What I was wondering for WebEx specifically, is their download of here is just the latest download and the link's not going to change, or is that one we're going to, because it just says a gold.
Yep.
So that's going to update for us on their side. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so we'll let you know that those have changed on us in the past. And so when we notice that these things are broken, we'll put out a new update for the template.
And that's where the forum comes in handy, because
Yes.
if we miss something like that, the sooner you let us know, the sooner we can get things
Exactly. Then especially if we start getting into some of those more niche software, right? Specific line of business apps. They're not things that we're going to be, watching for. So those are the ones that we'll watch the forum and be like, yep, you're right, and we can quickly update these.
Okay. They did put the link out to that community forum. I was actually trying to open up the Chrome on our side so we could see it, but I don't think we opened that one going into it. No pressure, but don't screw this up. Oh, my drink is empty.
Yes, nailed it. So here's the forum post. It's just in the help.pdq.com. It's the package library request. You'll notice that the actually one that came in 2 minutes ago. Here's SolidWorks. So this is fantastic. It's helpful for us if you already have a package that you're using to do this and you know it works. If you can include it in here or just like a screenshot, something. It'll help us turn around on these faster, so we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. Yeah,
and if SolidWorks is something that you agree you want, there's the up arrow there. So if something's getting voted up a lot, it's more likely we're going to grab that one.
Exactly.
Soon.
Yep.
All right. Did we have any other questions?
We do, as a matter of fact.
Right.
We have about 4 of them in the queue here. Hey guys, has anyone figured out how to update Teams per user ahead of a user being prompted to install a Teams update? Moy dog.
So I can't use appropriate language about Teams while live, but I can say I have never seen no one's happy. Either it's too aggressive or you can't find it or does this. Like across the board, it's too aggressive while still not being useful. Like Teams is the most hated install and you can't get rid of it. Like Teams is the worst when it comes to installing on your environment.
Yeah, you have the machine-wide installer for Teams, and you try and keep that up to date. But it's going to be sometimes that's get called at user logon, especially if there's a new profile. It's just one of those that's just kind of hairy.
Yeah, I guess the not great answer is there is no great way to handle Teams that's going to work best for you because it's terrible for everybody.
Yeah.
So you can all just commiserate.
I'm just waiting for Microsoft to just give me a thumbs up. It's like, we agree.
Yeah. Microsoft has entered the chat. Oh, really?
And now it's built into Windows 11. Hey, that's good. That's stuff of nightmares. You thought you couldn't get rid of it before. Just you wait.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, next question. Hey guys, do you have a package for deploying the new Windows 10 21H2? Danny H.
So I think this is a fantastic idea for a template. A couple weeks ago, we did a webcast about doing specifically this.
Yep.
We covered both the enablement package, which goes a lot faster, or the complete install.
Yep.
So doing a template for both of those, I think, is a good idea. The reason we don't have that in the library is the amount of time on the reboot, and there's no way for it to check back in that it was fully successful.
So yeah, if we get a big outcry for it and they're like, hey, we'll put it, we'll consider putting it in there. No promises.
Yeah.
We'll consider putting it in there. There's just that contingency of there's the command ran, but if it did it or not, who knows?
Because we can't verify until the scan after. It's just there's a lot of question marks on that one. But if the demand for the template is there, I think that's a very good candidate for it.
Sure is.
For both the enablement and the full feature install.
Yep.
Just what you supply for that one will
Yeah,
be different.
that one will be a little trickier because we can't give you a direct download link or tell you where to go to get setup.exe.
So yeah, for that one, but for the enablement package, we can include
Yes,
that KB.
we sure can.
So the enablement one, which goes faster already, and this is if I did the webcast. I think I remember what version. I want to say 1903, but, or maybe it was. I can't remember. There's a certain version where the enablement package works. I can't believe I forgot it, but for that one, if you're doing that one, we can provide that KB,
Yes.
and then that one won't change at all.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
right.
All right, next question. Gentlemen, what's the difference between the WebEx template and the built-in PDQ package? Chad?
Sounds like a question for Josh.
Ooh, Chad, right now, the only difference is we're not providing the installer. WebEx is one of those where the EULA's changing. And it may be one that we that we're required to remove from the library in the future.
That was a preemptive template then.
Yeah, it was one that, we do have to monitor those pretty consistently. If we're within EULA rights or not, and sometimes we have, business agreements with the distributor. Sometimes we don't.
So in the chat, 2004 plus. Thank you, Steve. I
Steve
forgot
for the win.
Yeah, there was a different enablement package for 1903 that was invalidated. Then 2004 up to 21H2.
Yep.
Maybe in the future.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. I can't believe it was like 2 weeks ago.
That's a long time ago. But I hope that answers the WebEx question. Is it's kind of a preemptive. We want to make sure that we have, when we do have to remove something from the library, we want to make sure that we have a replacement that's ready to go.
All right, our final question of the day, guys. Would you consider creating auto-download packages with custom variables for product keys and or basic settings? Sincerely, John O.
Fantastic idea, and it's on the radar. The thing that we've typically tried to avoid with some of these is requiring more than one change. If that makes sense. More than one play change other than files or that you'd require for the software. But depending on like the popularity of these, how much they go, like the door's open. Like we can pre-populate this with instructions that say, go grab this XML from the KB and import it and deploy, and it creates a variable for you.
Right. And for especially the templates where those aren't auto update, it might be like a one-time thing for you if you do need to add in like the installation key or the activation key. You can create that as a variable, include it into that template one time, and it should not overwrite on you. So it should be successful for you. After that, it's something that we don't have baked in.
Exactly. Right. Like these are just the very beginnings of package templates. And we kind of, bet small, let's see how they go, and let's watch and kind of have the community drive a lot of the evolution of this.
Actually, there is one more question. I'm not going to throw it up. I'm just going to read it to you from the chat. Is it possible to have, in the near future, some integration with RMM as Ninja? Sincerely, Alex.
I mean, anything's possible. I mean, so yeah, we can leave it as possible, probable, I don't know.
So right now, it's a pilot program. We're testing it out to see the demand and the best way to go. And based on the feedback we get, it's going to steer the way this goes along.
Exactly. Yep. We really, truly want this to be a community-driven, initiative.
Right on.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, this gives you a deeper understanding of where we're going with templates, and encourage you to dive in and give your input. Help us make it as good as possible.
Yes, absolutely.
For PDQ.com, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Josh.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations going out to Moy Dog and David R., winners of PDQ swag. As a matter of fact, I think you just won PDQ socks. Anyway, thanks for joining us. If you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to our support forums. And if you like what you've seen today, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It would make us smile. Have a fantastic week. We'll see you back here next time.